What's going on, Snoop? There's Snoopy. Oh, hold on, let me back up the camera, honey. I'm gonna get your snacks. You want your snacks? Huh? Are you hungry? Or are you just being silly? You silly rabbit. It's getting a little warm in here. So anyways, I declined it. 17 miles for $9. They said it'll take me 33 minutes, but I am not going to drive 17 miles for $9. Anyway, so I put, let's see. So last month, right, was August, and I drove 4,033 miles in August. So for the month of August, I drove 4,000 miles. We're in September, and I almost need an oil change again. So when you deliver for these apps, you put a lot of miles on your car. And I just pray that I don't break down, because all the money you save would be gone, right? Because it would go towards your vehicle expense. So, you know, but it puts a little bit of money in my pocket, and hopefully it'll get me out of my mess. But anyways, so I've been doing these other apps, right? I've been saying, before I go on, I've been saying, iPhone 16, this phone sucks. I don't like it. Because you have all these buttons up on top here that when you hit a bump or something, it'll stop the video because it hits the button on top. Because you have 3 buttons, you know, that are on the bottom. And for the amount of money you have to pay for the phone, man, it's ridiculous. It's starting to get warm. It's getting a little bit warm in here. So I was gonna say, I don't know what I was talking about. You hot, honey? I was talking about the, I guess the Uber. They sent me an order for $9 and I declined it. Look at these cars, they're so aggressive, you know. Watch this lady, she's gonna go on the other side. It's like they want to drive faster than the speed limit. The speed limit is 40 miles. And these people, man, they drive like 50 miles. And you wonder why your insurance goes high, you know what I mean? It's not because of me, it's because of you. You know, when another driver makes a mistake, you know, or gets in an accident, your insurance goes up. And they can't explain to you why, right? But you know why, you know? Because you're paying for someone else's fault. That's why. So anyways, I'm jumping off topic again. I get frustrated because these people are like in a rush. If you're in a rush, go on the other lane and pass me. You know what I mean? Don't fall on behind my ass and then, you know, expect me to drive faster. Because I'm not going to do it. got 2 lanes here. So I have a pickup that I gotta do for Zifty. They're paying me $33 and it's in Redmond. This car wants to go in there. People, they don't know how to drive out here in Washington. I've been getting a lot of these little orders, you know, $4 or $5. They want you to drive 11 miles, 12 miles. I declined it. You know what's funny is that it was probably a couple weeks ago, I was gonna pick up some food at Fatburger, and they're willing to pay me $35, right? But when I got to the place, it was closed. It closed like a minute. It was like 9:01. They closed at 9. He wouldn't let me do it. But Uber was willing to pay me $35 just to pick up that order and deliver it. I think it was not even 10 miles. So when you receive orders, like lowball orders, you know, they make a lot of money off of these orders because they go by the ratio of what the restaurant makes, you know. And if it's a franchise like McDonald's, they make a shitload of money, guys. You know, they go by percentage, and then when you order from the app, you know, they take their cut. You know what I mean? Because the customer's got to pay, you know, for delivery service, right? And then they got to tip, you know, the customer if they want to. So when they say that all the tips go to the drivers, which is true, but they don't tell you the other half, you know. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying that's how these companies make a lot of money. You know, they're billionaires because they figured out the algorithm of how the restaurants, you know, operate, you know, and what their revenue is. You know, like if you make, like, let's say, I'll give you an example. If you make like $2 million, right, in a franchise, right, in a year, okay? Let's say I come in and I say, okay, I want to do business with you, and I want like 5 or 10% cut of what you make, right? $2 million. So if let's say 5% out of $2 million, it's probably more than that. It's probably maybe like 10%. So you figure 10% out of $2 million, right? That's $200,000. So if you have 5%, that's $100 million, right? That's what these companies make, you know. And then when the customer pays, you know, like I said, you know what I mean, for service, they have to pay, you know what I mean? That's why these companies are billionaires. And I was thinking the other day, I said, that'd be a good idea if I can come up with an app and charge customers, and then I would pick the order up, right? Make money for myself. But it costs a lot of money when you invest, like in an app, like what they do, you know. Or you have to get investors, right? You have to get. So I got another order, but I declined it. They wanted me to go like 12 miles for $5. Who the hell does those orders? I mean, you have to be, you know, like desperate for money. I'm not desperate yet, but sometimes I feel like I am. You know, I was reading something the other day how Uber Eats is worth a lot of money. I can't remember the number. I don't know if it was 100 billion or was it more. But do you see what they do? Like these big corporations, if they can get away with it, you know, they'll do it. You know what I mean? They'll screw the driver over. And if you're in need for money, what do you do, right? You can't really do anything because, you know, you're in need of money. And if you don't work, right, you don't eat. I mean, that's basically how it goes. So I was looking online. So Uber Eats is worth $206 billion. I'm telling you, that's how they make their money. You know, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you know, when you look online, they don't tell you exactly how they do it, but you kind of, if you've been doing business for a long time, right, and you see like how a business operates, and when you go to you know, like a restaurant or the store, you know, and they sell you goods, you know, when they sell you that good, they buy it, you know, they buy it in quantities, you know, so they pay the company that makes it, you know, less than what they sell to the customers. That's how they make a profit, you know. So Uber does the same thing. It's like, you know, they charge a percentage to franchise to stores, you know, and then they make money. I mean, they make a lot of money. So, you know, $206 billion. So a lot of times when you get these orders that are $5, $6, they want you to drive 11 miles, 15 miles. I don't accept them. And there are people that accept them, you know. I mean, I'm thinking more like the youngsters, you know, people that really know what's going on, you know what I mean? Or how you know, how it works. But they got so many apps out there, you know. I mean, it feels like every day they're coming out with a new app, you know, because another company, you know, follows how a company, you know, makes a profit, right? So, but you have to have money, you know. In order to make money, you have to have money, you know. That's just the way the name goes. It's the way it goes. So if you don't have money, like I said, you have to have someone that, you know, is willing to help you out, to invest with you, and they want, you know, their cut. You know what I mean? I got a package right here. Anyway, so it was I had an order. It was $17, 2 pickups, an hour and 17 minutes, but I can't do it. And besides, that's just, you know, cheap pay, you know. But yeah, so anyways, guys, I'm just blabbing, you know. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out like a strategy, how to make money, you know, like how to make easy money, but it's really hard to make money, you know, when you don't have money. I'm telling you, it's hard to make money. And if you have a family, you have children, kids, it's even harder, you know what I mean? Because you have to, you know, pay for their schooling and everything, and, you know, their lunch, and you know what I mean, all the stuff that they need. But when you're by yourself, like myself and Snoopy, you don't have to worry about that. But there are still challenges, you know, that you face, you know, like especially when you're starting all over. You have to figure out, you know, how to make money, how to save money, so you don't go into debt anymore. And there's a lot of people out there that are very successful on YouTube. Some people do YouTube for like the first time. I've seen some videos and they blow up, you know. They have like 200 videos, right? And they started maybe like a year ago, and they have thousands, millions of views. And I'm looking at it and I say, okay, so what's wrong with my channel and their channel? I think what it is too, though, is people like them, you know, they like their channel. And when I see the channel, I'm like, how do these people like the channel? I mean, I'm doing basically the same thing they're doing, right? So I don't know, it's just strange, and some people just, be successful and they make a lot of money. And they probably don't tell you what they make, but I'm sure they make pretty good money, guys. So I'm just doing my own thing, and I hope to grow. If I don't grow, then I have to survive doing what I'm doing, right? Uber Eats. Eventually, I'm going to get out of Uber Eats, so I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I'm almost 50 years old next year, Time is fast, you know what I mean? I said, think of it like I'm going to be almost 60 years old in 10 years, and what the hell have you accomplished? You want a foundation or something, where you could call your place like a piece of land, you can call it your place, your home, right? And I hope to get there one day. If I don't, then I don't know, I guess it's on me, I must have failed somewhere, because obviously I didn't make it, you know what I mean? But I'm hoping, guys, that I make it. I would like to have a piece of land, even if I can't buy a home. And if I don't make it on YouTube, I have to find a better way of making money without working as hard. Because nobody wants to work hard. I mean, we live in 2025, Everything is electronics, technology. Back when I was a kid, they didn't have this stuff, And there are millenniums today, that are very smart, and they're very good at editing, and people like that stuff. So, anyways, guys, this video is very long, but I'm still gonna strive, man. I'm not gonna give up. I'm hoping that I land somewhere in life that brings me joy. Like I said, like a piece of land. Man, I would be happy if I was to have a piece of land. And who knows, but we'll see. I'm just gonna work at it and hope for the best, man. That's all I can say. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.